Hey, so is the market crashing full of horror stories? Are media stories putting you off? Every time you open your mobile phone or maybe get a newspaper, you're like, the world is going to hell in a high car economically. Looks like we're heading towards a recession, doesn't it? So does that mean you stop as a property investor? Does that mean you just go, I'm just going to ride this one out and wait for the market to change? Or does that mean that you learn techniques and strategies to still thrive, survive first and then thrive as a property investor in a recession? You know which way I'm going to guide you, aren't you? I want you thriving. You have heard that, I'm sure you've heard it before, that fortunes are made in recessions, and when everyone is kind of running scared, that's when you get super excited and actually go dive in, but with care, attention, focus, and education. Let's dig into it, shall we? Flipping, buying and selling properties. You can make a lot of money. I want you making a six-figure sum even in your first year as a beginner flipping. And a profit is a function of speed and price. So in a rising market, you're going to flip fast. You're going to be able to probably charge quite high price. So you're going to get quite quick profit. So if profit is a function of speed and price in a recessionary or down market, what do you want to do? You want to do it faster, which means your projects need to get smaller, which means you need to find discounted deals that don't need as much renovation. Yeah. And then in order to charge higher prices in a downward market where market confidence is kind of taking a bit of a dint, what you need to do, you need to have beautiful projects that really say, look, I'm worth it, which is often about the posing kit or the design rather than the beautiful plastering that you got somebody to do, okay? So it's often about the marketing. So be mindful of cost and be mindful of differentiation and standing out. The good news in a flip is there are a few other people flipping because they get scared. So you've got a smaller level of competition. So the smaller numbers of people who are on the market to buy houses or to buy flats are going to see fewer projects, and therefore yours is going to stand out even further through numbers, but also through your design differentiation. And by the way, if you're not good at design, just pay somebody to do it. Get a designer, get an architect. Don't, be charged a fortune, but just get some good project differentiation, some good design skills in there. The bad news is that people are more cautious in buying flips and buying property generally. So you've really got to make yours super sonically desirable. So my dear friend Arthur just got an amazing project flipped. It's in a recession now, pretty much. We're in a, not quite a crash, but all the newspapers, I just sent it on to him actually. America's posting a drop in house prices. Here we go. He just got a flip sold for £450,000. Why? Because he got it designed by his architect, because he did amazing photographs, he got amazing staging kit, and he also did brochures. So he did project differentiation, and people were, and also he said to his estate agents, you're not going to let anyone who's in the chain come and view this. I only want people who are chain free and are able to buy this immediately can come and view it. So because of his design differentiation, he could command the best type of buyers. So I still want you making money in a flip, but those are the risks that you've got to mitigate. Good list of them, eh? Now, how about being a landlord in a recession? Okay, being a landlord, you're receiving rent. You are creating a product, a home for somebody to live in, whether it's a shared house like a student house or an HMO, or whether it is a long-term let like a single let, an AST, a short hold tenancy, or whether it's short-term holiday let. It is a place for somebody to rest their weary head, cook their dinner, and enjoy being there and living there. You're receiving the rent, and you're going to get paid by either their students' bursaries or their student grants or their student loans. You're going to get paid by housing benefit if you decide to go into housing benefit segment, or you're going to get paid by their jobs if they're either holidaymakers in your Airbnb or if they're professionals in your singlets or in your HMO houses. But jobs also pay the students' HMOs. Why? Because when I have got students, I always get a parental guarantor who has a job and also has a property. So jobs are still backing up students. So first off, as a landlord, provide a great product, but also realize what's paying you and make sure that you have understood in your location, is that going to be possible? So if you do decide to do social security housing benefit, what are the housing benefit rates? Does that work for your project? If you are going to do students like I do, make sure they've got guarantors. And it's not a bad idea, actually. And next year, I think we'll probably implement it fully. Students get their grants and their loans in every kind of 3 or 4 months. So just say, look, guys, just pay, you got to pay us up front when your loan comes in or your grant comes in, so that they don't spend all their money, and make sure the parents have got guarantors. And if the parents make sure the parents have got houses. If the parents don't have house, or whoever's the guarantor, it doesn't need to be a parent. If the guarantor isn't a homeowner, the student has to pay for the money up front. And for your professionals, what kind of jobs have they got? Were they to lose that job? Can they find another job quickly? And we saw it in COVID. I mean, right now, although there's all this talk about being in a recession, we're the lowest level of unemployment since 1974. That's not making headlines, is it? Because it's not sexy. It's not going to sell newspapers. So look at it logically as a landlord. Students are still getting student loans and student grants. Parents or guarantors for students still own houses by and large. DSS, housing benefit, is still being paid if that's your segment. It's not particularly my segment. And jobs, well, we're at the lowest level of unemployment since 1974. So people can switch job if they don't like their current job. So as a landlord, people are still being able to pay their rent. Yes, I know we've got economic pressures. I'm not ignoring it. As a landlord, my tenants pay all the utilities. So things like, the kind of recent gas problems and utility problems, of course, they've got increased pressure on them because they're just like I am in my own home. They're paying more for their gas and electricity now. So I'm not blind to the economic reality, but I'm trying to just take down that level of fear where, people are in the trees to let's just put your feet back on the ground. Let's look at it logically with economic data. So the risk as a landlord is not actually that great. It's more the media risk, but you still need to be good at all of your processes, because in a recession, it's easy for anybody to say, it's not my fault, it's a recession. Well, you signed a contract, you got to pay your rent. In the kindest way, if you don't want to pay the rent, don't sign the contract, don't take on the contractual obligation. And I'm going to be a little bit blunt here. I hate the fact that landlords get bashed in the media all the time. Do you know something like, is it 4.4 or something million households are in private rental sector, 11 million human beings in the UK, housed by us, working pretty damn hard to build that property portfolio. For years and years and years, all my tenants had better lifestyles than me. I mean, now I'm pretty cruisy, but it took years, and I put my entire family's, anyway, shan't go on. But the reality is, the real problem is not necessarily that the tenants can't pay, although sometimes they're going to get into a little bit of difficulty. If you're not getting your rent paid, it's probably because you haven't got good processes. So I'll talk you through mine. And I'm very black and white about it. And out of the thousands, and I have had thousands of tenants, I've only had 2 people not pay me rent, and both of those people have got a CCJ, a county court judgment against them, which lasts for 7 years on their credit rating. So one of the things I always do is I look at my market segment. I provide top-end houses, top 25% quartile. Usually it's professionals or students, and the students have got parents with mortgages and jobs, or houses and jobs. And so I'm typically renting to the kind of customer segment that later on is going to go on and buy a house for themselves. So they don't want credit problems on their credit file for the next 7 years, do they? So straight away, they want to avoid that problem. So what happens? A tenant decides to not pay the rent. Like last month, today's the 1st, by the way, the rent is being paid today. So last month, the tenant emailed in and said, just to let you know, my student grant hasn't landed, so I won't be paying the rent today. Cute, but no. So my team emailed back and said, well, actually, here's our process. we send you out the reminder to pay the rent. On day 3, we send you out the first legal formal letter. On day 6, we send you out the second legal formal rent demand letter, because you have to do it every 3 days. And then on day 9 or day 10, we send you out the final one. If you don't pay the rent, then we start a CCJ process in small claims court. Sounds brutal, doesn't it? But are you the tenant's bank? Are you the tenant's parent? No. You have contracted an amazing, hopefully, space for them to live in, and they have contracted to pay you the rent. And they don't tell you on rent day, oh, I can't pay it. Yeah. So, and then we start legal proceedings, and any of the legal costs at that point will be added to your rent, because we'll be able to claim them back should it go to court. And I just sent that, or I didn't send it, sorry, my team just sent that as a simple template. It doesn't even need to be written these days. We don't send it like angry. We're not trying to be judgmental to the person. We're saying, I understand where you're sat, but here is the contractual position, and this is our response. And do you know, he paid the rent. And it probably was that they were thinking, well, where can the water trickle downhill? Maybe I'll see, and maybe they're not even doing it on purpose. They're just like, I haven't got my money, the landlords can bear the cost. No, you can't go into a supermarket and steal food and expect to be like, yeah, you just take that food. No, that's called theft. So by having clear processes means we've only ever taken 2 tenants to court and we won both times. The rest always paid, 2 out of thousands. Because you never need to actually implement, I mean, occasionally you have to do 1 or 2 letters, but you never need to actually implement the process. So do not be the kind of landlord that lets water trickle downhill. Have clear, simple, templated process, so there's no emotion. You just go, oh, look at that, that's really cute. Nice, but no, ain't happening. And then the real problem of a market is the market crashing, property prices falling. Okay, if you're flipping, you're going to have plan A, flip at this price, plan B, flip at this price, plan C, flip at this price, plan D, rent out as a single let, plan E, rent out as a multi-let, plan F, rent out as a service accommodation. Yeah, so you've got plenty of variability. As a landlord, if you've got a loan to value, meaning how much of the mortgage against the value of the property as a percentage is borrowed from the bank. Typically people start with 75%. So if you buy the house for 100, 75% of that will be a mortgage. If you've got high loan to value and properties drop 20%, suddenly you're maybe breaching your covenant, your agreement with the bank, which is I'll only have a certain amount of loan to value. And the bank says, you've breached your covenant, we're going to give you 30 days. I've seen it happen. I knew a guy who lost a £60 million property portfolio in the last recession. He did overreach himself, to be fair, but he'd never not paid the bank, and he literally flagged it up with the bank first and said, look guys, I think this will be a problem. Can I come in so we can have a conversation? They went in and he said, and the bank manager said, yeah, you got 30 days. He lost the lot, 60 million quid. What a devastation. But so the biggest risk to you is keeping your loan to value high and a property crash happening, and you've breached your covenant and bank says 30 days. So what do I want you to do? I want you to have alternatives. Alternative brokers, alternative banks that you've been incubating for a while, alternative ways of getting funding should your bank just yank the carpet from underneath your feet. Because remember the saying about banks, they'll give you an umbrella when the sun is shining, they'll take it away when it's raining. And in a crash, it's raining. The second thing I want you to have is working capital. Which of course I didn't have in the early days, I only have now. And you decide how many months working capital. I like a year's worth of working capital just sat there nice and tidy so you can pay all your bills for a year and claw your way out of any recessionary difficulty. The third thing I want you to do is pay down your mortgages. Old school. I have multiple properties completely paid off, including my flat here in Barcelona, and I intend to keep it that way. And so what you want to do is probably look at mortgages you're offered and check, am I able to pay 10% a year? So you can either do repayment and interest. I don't do that just because I'm not that nature kind of a girl. What I like to do is target one house and go, whoa, I'm coming for you, and pay the whole lot off. And then, yes, and then target the next house, yes, and kind of do it that way. But you can also, on some mortgages, pay off 10% a year, even in a fixed contract. So get your loan to value down. Get it down under 60%. Controversial, not what other people teach, but I'm old school. And funnily enough, I'm still in business in a recession. Flourishing. Old school works, yeah? So that's one of the many tricks and tips that you can use to approach a recession when you're flipping or when you're a landlord. So what's there to be frightened of? So some of those tips are about you surviving as a landlord or as a property flipper in a recession. And also I want you to change your mindset from, oh my God, back's against the wall, I need to survive this crash, to how can I thrive? Because recessions, unfortunately or fortunately, are where fortunes are made. When everybody is like exit stage door left and there are no buyers for discounted properties, you get those properties even further discounted. When everybody's like exit stage door left, that we're leaving the market, investors have got nowhere to place their money. So you can raise even more money. So in the upcoming recession, what would I be doing if I wasn't, because I got diagnosed with not one, but two, but three cancers almost 2 years ago. I've got 6 months left until I'm completely back in, like a fish thrown back into water or swimming to the other side. I've got 2 more sets of tests and only 6 months until my statistical chance of getting the serious cancer. The other 2 were like serious but not serious, but there was, fewer people died of it, the serious one, and then I'm back to normal risk. So what I'm doing is chilling for another 6 months. I'm not taking on anything because I'm just keeping my immune system chill, which is why I do these videos for you guys and why I have everything online, so I can help you but actually have a very chill life and just boost my immune system. So we're all winning. And of course my online products are so much cheaper than any of my mentoring, so fill your boots, guys. But what I would be doing were I not to have had 5 operations and chemo and radiotherapy 18 months ago, or actually 20 months ago now, I would be raising a war chest of investor money, and I would be going into this recession like this, going, right, that's it. Let's buy, let's sell, let's buy, let's keep. And let's work with investors on a slightly, 3 to 5 year process in order to really bring in those assets and to flip those assets when everybody else has exited stage door left. As it is, for the next 6 months, I shall be applauding you guys from the sideline purely because of my medical stuff, which is kind of almost gone now. But I'm, health comes first. And I shall be giving you massive of encouragement and also mentoring my son to get in at this point of the recession. So do not be frightened about a recession. Do be mindful. You need to improve your skills. You need to improve your knowledge. You need to take more measured steps. You need to control things more carefully. You can't just be like, hey, everything went well. You need to really manage and monitor what you're doing. But this is where fortunes are made. So, dear lovely one, jump in, please. Remember, like, subscribe, get to see all the YouTube channel videos and also my website. I spent a long time creating that for you guys, particularly now. It's just perfect. I can go and chill on the beach and just keep that immune system boosted beautifully. And you can learn from my £45 million worth of property at a super reduced price to what a one-on-one mentoring program would be like. Everything you need, and it's all immediately downloadable from my website. We're all winning, aren't we? Good luck to you. This is where fortunes are made. Get into the fray. Guys, I've written loads of free checklists for you. Here is another one over there. It is how to analyze your property portfolio. Do what the big guys do, and girls. Download it now. Figure out how to analyze your property portfolio.